Greetings. I'm Mitch Fitzpatrick with the VBOC at VetBiz, Veterans Business Outreach Center at VetBiz. And basically, what that means is we provide veterans, military spouses, currently serving individuals, and military families that are looking to start and grow businesses. We provide them no cost one on one business counseling. So, helping you with all those technical aspects of like, how do I get funding ready? How do I build a business plan? How do I do market research? All those things that go into a business. We provide one on one counseling to help you sort through those things for your individual idea. And then we also do training events. So things like this, helping people with the education piece, just giving you a different way to look at things for your business, doing events out in the community. We do this program called Boots to Business on military installations. So if you've separated out of the military and you've gone through TAP or you've gone through the Boots to Business course, we cover Boots to Business for all of Missouri, all of Kansas, and the bottom half of Illinois. So that's a little bit of a background about what we do, but this isn't about us. This is about you guys and starting and growing your businesses. So the first iteration in our customer connection series that we're launching here this summer, small gestures, big wins, creating memorable customer moments. This is really near and dear to our hearts here at VetBiz or here at the VBOC at VetBiz. We have a small but mighty team, but we each bring with us background in unique backgrounds in customer service, dealing with customers, and even today, dealing with clients. And I don't say that with a negative connotation, but just everybody's different, right? And what people care about is different. So we have to be attuned to that, and that's really a big part of what we've ingrained it in our culture here at the VBOC and here at VetBiz. So we're carrying that forward, and it's vital to small businesses as you start and grow your businesses. And some of my coworkers, they might laugh if they see this and they see this slide because I go through fits and starts of watching Bar Rescue, and I get it. It's not perfect. It is a television show. It is, some of it's produced. It's not, naturally what's happening in that bar. They got to play it up for TV a little bit sometimes. But I do like kind of the basis behind the idea of bar rescue. And if you've ever watched it, you probably heard in the intro or John Taffer say this: I don't fix bars, I fix people. And you have to start there. And one of the things I really appreciate about the show that can apply to really any business, not just bars and restaurants, his entire approach is built on one principle. If you kind of peel it back a little bit, the customers decide if your business survives. And how does he do that? He calls it the science of a bar. It's not really necessarily scientific elements. It's just saying, hey, what does the market care about? What are the people that live here? Is it a college town? Is it more of an upscale bar that we should be building? Is it by a beach and we should be building a tiki bar that matches the clientele? That's really what he's kind of looking at as the end game for that bar rescue. But the approach itself is built on, we need to fix whatever's going on for the drama in the family or whoever owns this bar before we can fix what's going on within the bar and with the money and where the money's going. So that starts with building a great experience for the customer. So it's obsessing over those small details sometimes can launch you to the next level in your business. And this is really important to understand too. So the entire presentation really is kind of talking about examples and different things about around small gestures. And at the end of this, I'm going to challenge you guys, whoever's watching this, to say, hey, what's one thing I could do? What's one small gesture I could add into my customer journey to make people feel important and to make them come back again and again? And if you've ever heard me speak out in the community or do a training event out in the community or gone to a Boots to Business, you've probably heard me say this already, but it's important. That's why I bring it up almost every single time. There's this term called Pareto's Principle. And basically what that is, it's a rule of 80-20. So how it applies to small business is like this: 80% of your sales are likely to come from 20% of your customer base. 80% of your sales are likely to come from 20% of your customer base. Why is that important? Well, when we peel back the layers to that, we have to get customers in the door first. which is easier said than done. But once we get that one customer in the door, or if it's a nonprofit, once we get that one donation or that one corporate donor that's really interested in partnering in what we do and they care about our mission, we got to keep them, right? So we got to get them in the door, then we got to keep them. Well, how do we keep them? Well, we give them a good product or a good service. That's the first step. We don't want to give them a crappy product or a crappy service because then they're just not going to come back. But we give them a good product or a good service, but we also give them that warm and fuzzy, right? We make them feel good. So that's kind of what this slide is touching on. We're headquartered out of St. Louis. So I use the example, and Build-A-Bear started here. So I use the example of Build-A-Bear. Well, Build-A-Bear, if you've ever been in there, you got to bring your cash. You got to bring your wad of cash. You got to come prepared to spend some money, right? And you're not really spending money on the teddy bear. You are, but you're also spending money. Where the money's really going is for that experience, right? You bring your kid in there, they have an experience, you build the bear together, you get to bring it home, and that's always something you can look at when it's sitting on the bed or when it's collecting dust in the corner when they're teenagers or it's in the closet. You can pull it out and say, I remember when we went to Build-A-Bear. That was such a great day. We went to the Build-A-Bear, we got lunch. Everybody had a great time and we got to bring it home and you slept with that bear forever. That's a hypothetical, but those small gestures, building that emotional connection is really, really important to growing your business because you got to get them in there. And once you do that, you hook them with that emotional connection. I don't say that in a negative connotation, like we need to sell them on anything. We just give them that warm and fuzzy, and that'll keep them coming back again and again. Because if we think about it, that rule of 80-20, the last part of it, what they come back again and again, the customer does, but also what do they do for us? They give us that great word of mouth advertising, right? So they give us that invaluable marketing that we need to grow our small business because we don't have the infrastructure. We don't have $1 million sitting around most of the time, right? I'm imagining, or else we probably wouldn't be listening to this right now because we would just hire a marketing firm to do those things for us. But we got to bootstrap it at the beginning. So we got to give them a good product, good service that they're going to talk about and tell other people about. And we do that through an emotional connection. And here's some stats. I like statistics, and this just kind of outlines what I'm saying here. So it's not just me preaching at you. 86% of customers are willing to pay more for a better experience, right? So there's a myriad of examples in there, and it goes into what the economic model of your business is, and we're not really diving into that too deep here today, but that's something we can work on you with on your individual idea if you care to do so. But that's huge, right? Going back to Build-A-Bear, 86% of customers are willing to pay for a better experience. So just because the experience is something that they're going to be emotionally attached to, they're automatically willing to pay more for it. Same product, same service, because I have that emotional attachment, they're going to pay more for it. And what does that mean at the end of the day? I don't need every single customer. I just need to give the customers I have a great experience. 1 in 3 customers will leave a brand they love after just one bad experience. And I'm sure we've all been there before. Like I use the example of, hey, I travel a little bit for what I do across the Midwest or, maybe some conferences on the West Coast or Florida or wherever it may be here and there for veterans entrepreneurship. But if I go somewhere, let's just say, I go to Orlando, Florida. I don't know a lick about Orlando, Florida. So what do I do when I get there? I check in on the hotel and I got to go out for dinner, right? We're going to go out for dinner as a group. So what do? We hop on Google or we hop on Yelp or we ask ChatGPT and we say, hey, here's the experience I'm kind of looking for. I don't want something super fancy, but what are some local restaurants near me or local bars and grills near me? And if I look one up, I'm like, okay, cool. This looks like a good option. Bill and Ted's Bar down the street. I go down there and they're supposed to be open till 10. And I go there at 8 p.m. and they got a close sign and the whole place is closed down for the night. Well, that's not a great experience. Or if it is open and I get, bad food or whatever it may be, it doesn't taste good or raw chicken or whatever it may be, going back to Bar Rescue, probably seen it on there before, happens all the time. I'm not going back there, right? So 1 in 3, I'm honestly shocked it's not a little bit more, but 1 in 3 customers will leave a brand they love after just one bad experience. So you gotta keep giving them that good product or the good service. Loyal customers are 5 times more likely to repurchase and 4 times more likely to refer. And it costs 5 to 7 times more to attract a new customer than retain an existing one. You probably heard that in hiring before. It costs way more to hire and retrain and get somebody on board in your business. Same thing with customers. Once I get a customer and I got them in my customer pipeline and they're coming back again and again, it costs me a lot more to try to attract a new customer and try to market and hammer somebody over the head with marketing to get them in my doors, as opposed to just keeping the customers I have and letting them be the mouthpiece for my business. And this is one of my favorite slides. And this isn't death by PowerPoint. Give you a heads up, we're over halfway done now. So this is meant to be short and sweet and to the point of these customer service aspects here. But this is one of my favorite slides. Customer experience is your competitive advantage. We talk about what are the little things we can do? Because I mentioned earlier, we don't have millions and millions of dollars sitting around. We don't have the infrastructure of an Amazon or a Walmart or those kinds of things. So where do we win? Well, we win on that customer experience. And you can outspend the big guys sometimes, but you can outserve them. We talked about that emotional attachment. Personalized service wins hearts. And some people look at this and they say, well, I got to have all the fancy things right at the beginning. I got to have that 24/7 support built into my website, or I got to be open all the time, or I got to answer my phone every single hour. You don't need to do those things sometimes, or a brand spanking new customer management system right from the very beginning. You don't need to do those things at the very beginning sometimes. I'm not saying that shouldn't be part of your growth plan, but we got to get our customers first, and we got to get them to care about what we're doing first before we go buy all those fancy things that we may not need in our business yet. We got to be authentic, so we need to care, listen, and act. That kind of service is definitely remembered, talked about, and trusted. So speed and flexibility as well. You can make real-time changes, offer unique solutions, surprise customers with responsiveness. I love that last line there. Surprise customers with responsiveness, because I've heard that on my side, with what I do in vet biz, and some of my colleagues hear it all the time too. When people call our office, and I've answered the phone before, and I've been like, hey, it's Mitch with Vet Biz. How can I help you? And they're like, oh my God. The person on the other line is like, oh my God. I can't believe I got somebody on the phone. I've tried to call some different services and some different organizations out there, but I can't get in touch with anybody. I can't get anybody to answer me. And he answered me right away. And that's shocking to me. But also, that's a little bit of a competitive advantage. If we're there, we're responsive, and we're there to help just like we say we are. Sometimes those little solutions and being responsive can make a huge difference. Just think about, if you guys out there, if you need to get a car repair or something, that can be a trick and a half sometimes, especially if it's a bigger repair and you can't do it yourself. You're like, oh, I know it's going to cost me this. They're going to try to upsell me and all these other things I don't necessarily have the time or money for right now, or I don't want to spend right now. So you're calling around to different car repair shops, and you finally find that one that says, hey, I got an opening for you. I empathize with your situation. Come bring it down. I'm not going to try to sell you on anything extra. We'll just see what's going on behind the hood. Well, they've probably got you as a customer for life as long as you live in that area, right? As long as they do a good job and they say they do what they say they're gonna do. They probably got a customer for life then. So give that authentic solution, empathize with people. It can be a competitive advantage for you. And customer journey is really important to understand as well. We're going to look at this through a couple, of brands that are out there already where you can see this in action, as opposed to me just telling you guys about it. So customer journey touch points, that's where the magic happens. So their first impressions matter. That's awareness, right? Whether it's wherever your customers are kind of being fed to, whether that is a website, whether that is a storefront, whether that's a Facebook web page, an Instagram web page, social media page, a TikTok, whatever it may be, that first impression matters. Or Google Business. I use Google Business as an example all the time. Like I used that restaurant example earlier. Hey, I'm going to go to a restaurant, restaurants Orlando, Florida, and I go on Google. I'm looking at, do they have pictures? Do they have ratings? What are people saying about them? How reputable or filled out? What does the clientele look like? Does it match what I am? Those kinds of things are what I'm looking at. I'm building that trust with that awareness at the very beginning. Consideration, very important as well. Consideration when customers they're evaluating, not just comparing products, they're comparing the experiences that they may have with you. So again, that goes back to reviews, things of that nature. Purchase, uh, this is kind of where the rubber meets the road sometimes with businesses. This is where business owners may check out. They may say, okay, cool. They made a purchase. See you later. No, this is where you can really win, is that in between the purchase and the post-purchase. So you can do personalized touch points, like sending them a thank you letter, especially if it's a big sale or something like that. I'm not necessarily saying if it's a bodega and you're selling a piece of candy to somebody that you need to seek them out and send a thank you letter or get their address or anything like that. But if it's a bigger purchase or an app that they're downloading or whatever it may be, giving them a personal touch point through their email, through their phone, through their traditional snail mail. This is where you can win and you can kind of stand out from the crowd in between that purchase and post purchase, and then that creates loyalty at the end of the day. It's deepening the relationship, celebrating milestones. That's important as well. I use the example of Duolingo. I get on there, I do my Spanish. I'm still horrible at Spanish, but for whatever reason, they've got me hooked. And how do they have me hooked? Well, through made up milestones, right? Through streaks. I don't want to break my streak. Not to brag, I got a 600 plus day streak going on right now, and I wouldn't dare break that up for anything in the world. But is there any incentive I get out of that? Do they say, oh, we're going to send you a gift card or give you access to premium Duolingo if you hit 600 days? No, they don't. I have literally no incentive to keep that streak going other than what I built up in my head already. But they've created that loyalty. Okay, so loyalty is important as well. And we're going to explore this through a couple of different lenses as we close this out. But creating those milestones and making a customer feel important as they are, because they are important. So make them feel important. Here's an example of that customer journey through the lens of Spotify. Even if you use Apple Music and you don't necessarily use Spotify, you can understand kind of this customer journey. So how does Spotify go through the customer journey? Well, at the awareness part, they make it appealing. How it makes you feel when you open up the app. It doesn't look dated. It looks up to date. Everything, as soon as you open up the app and you're able to create playlists, and it has all these different features that they're always adding, like an AI DJ, or it pushes playlists in your direction, or it recommends new albums from certain artists that you've been listening to when they come out with new albums. It's how they make you feel. Consideration provides immediate value through curated playlists, like I said, mood filters, suggested content, things of that nature. So awareness and consideration kind of go together there. Purchase. It is built for mobile. So it's built for today's day and age. It has, you can download a desktop or on your computer, or if you've got like an Xbox or a PlayStation or something like that, you can download the app, the desktop version of the app on those things. But really, it's built for mobile because they're saying, hey, where do most people use our service? Well, it's probably in the car when you're taking a car ride or a car trip and you're putting the Bluetooth on or plugging it in, whatever it may be, or it's at work, maybe on their phone while they're working and they've got headphones in, or it's at the gym. Those are where people are using Spotify the most. So let's build it to be mobile first. Post-purchase. So once you're a subscriber of Spotify, it helps you with all those other things that I mentioned, like release radar. One of the things that I really like in loyalty here at the bottom, Spotify Wrapped. That's been huge for Spotify and helping them grow their brand. And again, it's kind of like Duolingo. You have no incentive with the Spotify Wrapped. You don't get anything extra from using Spotify for a whole year, but people share their Spotify Wrapped all over social media, and that helps grow Spotify. It helps them grow their brand. They haven't necessarily added a whole bunch of revenue drivers or anything like that, but it's getting more people to talk about Spotify, which gets more people on the Spotify platform at the end of the day. So they're creating that loyalty, and they've really hit a home run with that Spotify Wrapped at the end of the year. And then another example, so that was business directly to the consumer, but it's also important to know business to business. So Canva, you guys may be using this. I use it in VetBiz and some of the social media tiles and graphics and things that we do. We use Canva. It's a really great resource. And again, I'm not stumping for them. I'm not saying it's the end all be all. I'm not getting kickback from Canva or anything, but it may be useful as you guys are like creating logos for your business. It can help you do that if you're creating like flyers for your sales or your businesses, if you're creating social media tiles or Instagram videos or something like that. It can be helpful. So Canva might be something you want to look into. But how does Canva do this? Well, awareness, word of mouth, community referrals. So people like me sitting up here and saying, Canva's pretty cool. You should check it out. They're doing awareness right now through that. You can see it in action. Consideration. What do? Well, they offer a free trial, like a lot of applications now. They offer that free trial. They've got a Canva Pro, and then they've got a free version. So with the free version, you get some basic stuff and basic designs. But if you want to upgrade, they give you a taste with that free trial before you have to pay any money. Purchase and onboarding, guided walkthroughs, pop-up tips, drag and drop, easy remove. It removes the learning curve, right? So if you need help at any time, it pops up with different things that you can X out of if you're already a pro. But if you're not, it pops up with some different tips and tricks. It integrates everything super easy so anybody can use Canva. Post-purchase, regular updates. So there's like community you can add. If you're a community member, you can add designs and things like that. So that's helped Canva as well because they're not having to curate everything themselves. They are having community members and digital marketers and people like that put their designs on Canva's platform, and that helps them bring new people in and it keeps everything fresh, right? And then loyalty, active creator community, like I said, resources along the way. They added AI, they've added like a QR code builder into there. That's very big. And so they're keeping up with the times. That creates the loyalty, right? And this is really what I want to leave you guys with as we close out this sort of video here. These two things sound like they don't go together, right? Balancing standards and autonomy. Well, if I've got standards, that basically means I've got guardrails and I've got rules and regulations. So how does that go hand in hand with autonomy? Autonomy, we hear that and we think, oh, people out doing their own thing. There's not a lot of guardrails. But I think the best organizations and the best businesses and the best nonprofits, especially in today's day and age, because times change, we got to keep up with the times, balance that standard and that autonomy. So we're giving people guardrails with rules, regulations, but we're also saying, I trust you and I've trained you enough to go forth and do great things. If I've done my job as a manager or a director or a business owner, I need to trust you to go out and do the right thing. And if I don't, that is a reflection on me. That is not a reflection on the employee. That is a reflection on me. So the best teams balance those standards and then autonomy. So for you guys, if you have employees in your business, this can be really something you want to kind of lean into a little bit more. If you don't, you may be growing your business. And as you bring on employees, that brings a whole separate set of challenges, different personalities. But I think the best businesses help those people by giving them standards giving them rules, but also letting them be great at what they're great at. If you hire this person, you hired them for a reason. And if you hired out of desperation, that is not a good reason. So if you hired this person, you need to trust them after you train them to do what it is they say they're going to do. Clear expectations are important. And you got to set that standard so everybody knows what great looks like, but also give them permission to personalize. One of the great examples of this is the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. So Ritz-Carlton, very fancy hotel chain. They got a lot of locations across the world, but they actually give their employees a $2,000 stipend to basically enrich the customer's experience. It's not just $2,000 and you use it or you lose it, or you get to pocket it at the end of the year, or you get to go buy them a gift card and spend your $2,000 that way and just say you did your $2,000. No, it's meant to enrich the customer's experience and meant to make you listen as an employee of Ritz-Carlton. So for example, if you check into a Ritz-Carlton and you're checking in, they're asking you, hey, how's everything going? I'm the employee behind the desk. I'm saying, hey, how's everything going? How's your trip? How's your trip in? Where are you coming from? I'm kind of making that small talk, getting to know you while I'm typing on the computer and getting you set up. And you tell me, everything's great, but I forgot my phone charger and my phone's about to die. Well, how can I enrich your experience as a Ritz-Carlton employee? Well, I would hear that and I would say, don't you even worry. We're going to get you checked in. Here's your key. We're going to walk you up to your room, make sure everything's good to go. But don't you even worry. You just get settled in. I'm going to run, grab you a phone charger. What kind of phone you got? I'm going to run and get you a phone charger. I'm going to bring it up to your room. I'll be there in about 30 minutes. Bam. I just solved a problem for a customer right there, and I've created loyalty. And that's built into the Ritz-Carlton experience. Every single employee has the autonomy to be able to do those things. And then also, I like down here, it says celebrate initiative and reward going above and beyond. So if you have a employee or a team member or your co-owner, whoever it may be, that's running your business, and you see them or you hear them do something great, or a customer comes back and leaves a review and says, this person went above and beyond for me and they helped enrich my experience, and they made me, basically what they're saying is they made me loyal to what it is that you do in your business. Celebrate that. Give them a gift card, give them a coffee in the morning that they really like. Do something out of the box to, create an employee of the month program, whatever it may be. But you want to lean into and say, I see what you did. That helped us grow our business, and you didn't have to do that. You could have just come in, clocked out, and done your thing, and that would have been fine. But you went above and beyond, so we need to recognize that. What does that do? That creates a culture. That creates a winning culture, so to speak. So we're going to close it out here. The last thing I have for you guys, and I get it, this is on demand, but I'd love to hear from you guys. If you watch this video and you come back to it and you want to leave a comment and tell us what you're going to add into your business, or the one thing you're going to do to enrich the customer's experience or create a moment that matters, I'd love to hear about that in the comments, and we'll comment back and we'll have a conversation there. Or if you just want to see me out and about, if you want to email me, if you got my email, and I'll say it here at the end in case anybody wants to reach out to me. But this is my challenge to you guys. Identify one customer touch point that you can elevate. A small personal gesture into your arsenal or into your toolbox, as we say, that creates an impact on the customer. Empower your team to do the same. If it's not just you and your business, again, create those incentives. Make somebody feel good about something good that they did in your business. Ask yourself, what's one thing I can do today that a customer will remember 6 months from now? So I would challenge you guys to do that and come back to us and tell us what that one thing is and how it paid off in your business. My name again is Mitch Fitzpatrick. I'm with the VBOC at VetBiz. My email, if anybody wants to reach out to me, is Fitzpatrick, Fitzpatrick, at vetbiz.com, which is vetbiz.com. Fitzpatrick at vetbiz.com, or you can look me up on LinkedIn. You can connect with us. VetBiz has a LinkedIn page where we post a lot of opportunities and things going on in the veteran and military spouse and entrepreneurship community. So that's a great place to connect with us. And I appreciate you guys for listening to me today.